tell us your name, age, and address?
My name is Billy Gardner. I'm 79 years old. My address is 102 Birch Street, Vacaville, California, 95680.
What do you do for entertainment?
Well, we didn't do anything except at home. We still read a lot. We read books, and we listened to the radio. And, of course, we went to church all the time. And we like to go see the ball games. And we always went to the movies on Saturday, because they had cartoons and they had a continued story. Always, and we went to the movies on Saturday. That was about all.
What type of transportation did you have?
Well, when I was real small, I think it was a Model T Ford. And then later on, when I got up about 14 or 15, my mama didn't have a car. So we rode with friends or took a city bus.
What type of schools did you have?
We had some very fine schools. We had good teachers, and the buildings were nice, and the teachers were good, and so was the work they taught us. We had a real good school.
How did the schools differ from today?
Well, I think the main thing that's different today, and when I went to school, that we thought the teacher was in charge. I mean, anything that she said, we did it. Because she was just like our mother or father away from home. And we didn't dare just say the school teacher or our parents would get us. They were very firm, and they were always in control. And the people really, our children were taught, the parents taught them to respect the teachers. They weren't to talk back. They would just do what the teacher said. We thought she knew everything.
What were your homes like?
What was my home like?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think it was, let's see, we had a living room and a kitchen and a dining room, and I think 3 bedrooms and a porch, and was painted white. The furniture wasn't rich, but it was nice, serviceable. And it was on 3 acres of land. We had 3 acres, a house with 3 acres of land on it. I mean, the house was on 3 acres of land. So we had a nice garden and lots of flowers. And everybody there liked each other, so that made it a good place.
What was the average size of the rooms?
The average size of them?
Yeah, the rooms.
Oh, they were big ones. They were larger than they build the homes now. Each room was real good size. Like a dining room, you could put a great big table and chairs in it and still have lots of space. Or the living room, you could put quite a bit in it. It would extra space. Most of the rooms were larger than they build them now. I don't know the dimensions. I wouldn't know how to tell you that. But they were just good-sized rooms. You could put 2 beds in each room.
What chores did you have?
We didn't call them chores, Mark. That was just our work to get done. We did the dishes and the floors, and we did the yard, and we mowed, and we worked in the garden, and we just did everything. I mean, everybody helped with everything. So we had plenty to do.
What were the lessons like?
The girls cut their hair straight around with bangs when we were 8 or 9 years old. And we wore just socks and Oxfords, I guess you call them. Just plain dresses and coats. I mean, I don't know of any real style there, except the haircuts. Most of them did have bangs. Most of the girls wore bangs. There were no long-haired boys, though. They all had their hair cut short. This was about 8 or 10 years old, I guess. And then on up, it changed, and everything goes around and comes back again. So it's been through the cycles.
How did you do your shopping for clothes?
Well, when I was small, A lot of it was ordered out of the Sears catalog. But when I got up older, a teenager, then we just went to town store. We had some good stores and some real nice stores, so we just went to town and picked them out. So when we were little, lots of times they'd order our shoes, coats and stuff from Sears.
Where are the Sears catalogs?
What is the Sears catalog?
Yeah.
A big catalog that Sears and Roebuck sent out every year. And you could order any clothes or household appliances or anything from them. You could buy most anything there.
How did you shop for food?
We just went to the store. We had several food stores. If you wanted fish, you went to the fish market. They were separate from the regular grocery stores. If you wanted fish or oysters or anything like that, any seafood, you went to a separate store. That's what they call the fish market. And otherwise, we just had a regular general store that carried everything. Cheese and milk and butter and eggs, meat, whatever you want to buy. Bread, just one big general store. They called it a general store because it had everything. If you wanted milk or butter, or if you wanted a package of seed, or if you wanted some fertilizer, or if you needed some ice, it doesn't matter what you wanted. You wanted a brew to sweep the house with, everything was there. I mean, it was just a general store. They had just about everything.
How many brothers and sisters she have? I don't think of her family.
She had two that died during that flu epidemic, 1918. It was Uncle Roy.
Well, he died during that flu?
Yeah, Uncle Roy was a single one. That's how Roy got into the family. It started with Royal. Mm-hmm. Okay. It was Royal, Uncle J.B., Uncle Tights, Uncle Cullen, and then there was a little one named Melinda that died, a little girl.
That's her sister?
Aunt Libby.
Okay.
Can't remember them all. Aunt Libby and Ashley's mother. I can't remember her name. She had grandma had a bunch of kids.
So she had
How many did your mother have?
She had 7. 4 died when they were under 3. I can remember the 3-year-old was snowing. I remember she died. But the others were infants. Maggie was her name. That's right. She had a bunch of them. But one of them, Mama said was so little they'd take her around in a bucket. She was just a cute little thing, just to get her around the bucket. You remember that All My Children show? There was a pretty beautiful blonde on there named they called Nina.
Oh yes,
Okay,
big fan.
just remind me, Aunt Maggie's middle name. One of them's Mama's sister was named Nina. Every time I thought about it, that's an old name. Nina.
I didn't know that. You know, back going through the genealogy file, that her that's what her middle name, I guess.
Her middle names was that. You'll catch it sometime.
So Uncle Roy actually came from Royal. Where'd the Elroy come from? That was it. Where'd the Elroy come from?
I just don't know.
Because Uncle Roy, is his name Roy or Elroy? You know, like his gift.
His name is Roy, but it should have been Elroy. I think it was supposed to be. But I don't know.
Well, doesn't it have to be Fonzy Elroy?
I believe it's Elroy.
I was wondering whether Elroy.
I think his Roy's name is Elroy.
F-E-S, yeah. Fonzy Elroy. I wonder if that's the backwards of Royal.
If it had anything to do with it or not. But Daddy's name was Alphonso Atkins, but he called himself Fonzy F-E. So I guess he's the one that put the Elroy in it. You have a time when you start genealogy, people can change it. So.
Well, who was it that used to make, not kumquats, apricot nectar or
Oh,
what
that was
wine?
Uncle Cullen, made persimmon beer.
That's it.
He had a great big keg, and he keep cap on it until it ripened up, until it turned. We keep drinking it until one day we find a lock on it. Then we find it was turned, then, you know, you got the alcohol content. But that sure is good stuff. I imagine it'd be real good if you could get the lock on it.
That was your mom's brother. Or her brother. Okay. I was trying to get this straight.
He's the one that gave the big barbecues for the police department and the lawyers and stuff out of his house.
Up at Aunt Libby's house, I'm going to mean to ask. I remember going in the front door. Remember that were there hardwood floors? In her
Aunt
house?
Libby had hardwood
Okay, there were
floors.
hardwood floors. And that's what I remember. You go to the left, and I remember having, she had like lace, like a lace, heavy lace type bedspread
Yeah.
to the left, and it was a real nice fixed up room. And then you left that, and there was a hallway in front of the bedrooms on the left, and then a big open living room. And the kitchen was to the back, wasn't it? I can remember that.
Well, that's surprising.
In the house, I was particularly impressed with, and I remember hurting my heel in the back. And then there was a little house to the, what is it, the back of the house, to the left of the back of the house.
That was Miss Parrish's house.
Miss Parrish, it was real tiny, but she had it fixed really neat inside.
Tell us
No,
about Miss Parrish.
Yeah, I remember her house.
That was Uncle Paul's.
Huh?
Tell us about Uncle Paul.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Oh. Well, Paul Sadler was married to Mama's sister, Libby. And I think Miss Parrish was his aunt. I believe it was.
Okay.
She lived alone over there.
Yeah, it was so neat because it was so small. And I remember going, there was just like one room with a little kitchen out there and then a bathroom.
Yeah,
Was it?
everything was arranged so nicely in there.
I've always looked for a house like that. Every time I see a little tiny house, that's what I think of.
But you find it, usually if you have a big family, big one, it has just the best sense of humor. It's always like Mama's brother Titus, you know, when he got hit by the train.
Yeah.
They took him in, and Aunt Mary went up, and he knew he wasn't going to make it, you know. And she said very weakly, did his hand, said, "Merry Christmas." I mean, that was Titus for you all over. I mean, he didn't change his personality a bit, you know.
Right.
Merry Christmas. Aunt Mary said that she and Titus made a pact that whoever went to the next world first would come back and tell the other one.
Yeah.
And she was real nervous for a long time.
He was coming back, right?
I hadn't mentioned that to her for a long time. I think I'll ask her next
Ask her
time.
if he's been back to visit yet.
She's had a few interesting dreams, hasn't
She did what,
she?
Bert?
She's had a few interesting dreams.
Oh, you ain't married.
Yeah.
Oh boy, she sure has. You'll have to get her. She's told me about some of them, but I wouldn't want to repeat any of them because I couldn't remember the details. Don't you suppose it's because she works with genealogists so much and thinks about them so much and looks at the pictures and dates? I heard the train whistle just blowing one day. I looked out when I was down to my slip again. I looked down and the guy was on the railroad track. Was sitting on it just like Titus was. And I saw the train actually hit him. You know, I went running down and the train stopped and the engineer came back. Picked him up and took him over to town. He just sat right down on the cross ties.
On purpose?
I guess so, without realizing something. I don't know. That's the way Titus was. Titus was drunk. That's the reason he was sitting there.
We had a good time growing up. We really enjoyed it. My cousin was down at the river one day. His name was Ashley. And we were standing in the yard watching him come home. He was coming from the river, been down either swimming or fishing. And he'd walk a little ways and then he'd stop and look down and start up again, walk a little ways. And he got close enough to see we could tell what he was doing. He was leading a snake home. He caught it and put a rope around his neck and was making him crawl. And Grandma screamed and said, "Kill that snake." But he walked him all the way to the river. He was a nut.
his sister was the one that I got mad at when I was about 5 or 6 years old and left home. I was about 5 or 6 years old, and we had some big oak trees in the yard. But when they lost their leaves, we would build houses out of them. We'd build seats and beds and stuff out of the leaves. We had fun. And I built me a good house, and my cousin, that was bigger than I was, she must have been about 13, messed them up. And I couldn't, she wouldn't stand still and let me hit her, and I got real mad. Went in the house, and I got me some food in a sack, and put me on a hat, and I left home. My grandmother saw me, followed me all the way down till I got tired and sit down. And then she came and talked me into going back. Said Daddy would miss me when I got home and all that stuff. And she taught me to going back. But when she grew up, she was real prissy. She just did everything right. She was real prim, prissy. And Ashley was very different. He and I used to go out when it would snow a little bit in the wintertime, get a stove, mix it up, and then sit behind that stove in the kitchen and eat it. Oh, the boy I told you about, my first cousin that made the snake walk back from the river, sister studied to be an RN, and she graduated being an RN and then married a doctor. So tell Janet she can carry on her profession, because we had Grandma had a kind of a house they built in those days. They built a big porch around it, and you go up the porch, and if you went to the right, you went to the kitchen, and the kitchen is where the cooking and things went on so they didn't bother the people in the house. Mm-hmm. There was a room out there and everything for the cook. It was made when they had slaves, servants, but it was a nice old house. I had a grandpa and he didn't like cats no more than I did. And then a cat got in the house, he came clean downstairs. But he didn't like cats. He just didn't like cats. He was old, and he was in the war, Civil War, I guess it was.
Now who was that?
Grandpa Taylor, George Taylor. He was, and he'd come home after he got his pension. He'd come home and bring us candy and give us some little money, you know, every time. But he sure did hate cats. He'd come down with his lantern, his candle, round if that cat was with him.
Now I've heard the phrase "a Taylor fit."
Yeah, oh Lord, don't get him mad. He went all over his head. I never heard of him really hurting anybody, but he'd make you think he was going to. They said I was like Grandpa Taylor. I had Taylor fits. Once in a while, but not often. But he was real lovable old fellow. But my daddy was real mean about Christmas time. He would fix up and scare Grandpa. He'd fix up in different costumes and then go up and Grandpa would come in the house, you know, he'd watch that thing out there and who is it and all that stuff, and get him all upset. That was mean. But Grandma made him stop. She didn't want him upset. But he would walk, when he was walking, he walked from Goldsboro. I started saying Newbern, but that's not right. I believe it was Mount. I was about 15 miles. He'd walk about 15 miles to go to work.
Wow.
Right down the railroad track. He was.
Oh, that's a long ways.
When I grew up, we lived on the railroad. How far was it from my house to the railroad, Bronson? Just a short.
I guess about 100 feet.
Okay, it was close by. So every time the train would pass, we'd wave it to the engineer. And one Christmas, he stopped the train and got off with the prettiest baskets of fruit and different things. Of course, boy, they were good. The Uncle Roy, Bronson's Uncle Roy also started running marathons when he was real young. He's still running them. not half marathons. He runs a full marathon each time. That's 26 miles, I believe. 26 miles, I believe. He's 80. He's 5 years younger than I am, so he'll be 82. I'll be 87. He's 5 years younger than I am. He'll be 82 in September, and still running marathons. He's run marathons in England and Ireland, and of course all the states, Florida and all that stuff. His wife went over with him one time in England when he was running a marathon over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you a secret how he got so good at running. He was 5 years younger than I was, and he could outrun me. And every time I'd get mad at him, I'd chase him. And I was constantly mad at him. So I would chase him all over the cornfield, all over the cotton field. I never did catch him. But one day I was really mad at him. I mean, really mad at him. I chased him until I was tired and couldn't catch him. So I came home and I said, he'll be here after a while. He's got to come home. And I hid behind the kitchen door. And when he came in, I'll let you guess what I did. I got him. Boy. But he made me tired running all the time.
Tell us about being named by the doctor.
Oh, I was supposed to be, the doctor, Mom, of course, always in bad shape. I was born at home. He wanted to know what my name was. She said, name her after Mama. That was Grandma.
Yes.
And Christine, to go with Mama's name.
Yes.
So that's how I got Maddie. But see, Grandma Gwaltney's name was Martha.
Yes.
And when your name's Martha, quite often they'll nickname you Matt or Maddie. This is a nickname.
Right.
So instead of putting down Grandma's real name Martha, he'd always call her Matt or Maddie. So he just put down Maddie.
Okay.
Kind of picked an uglier name. To me, I mean, I just never have one.
Would you like Martha?
I like Martha.
You don't look like a Martha, though.
I don't look like a Martha. I look like a Matt.
No, you don't look like that either, but I can imagine calling you Grandma Martha. I don't think I can do it. You're like,
Grandma Martha. No, it just doesn't sound right, does it?
no.
Well, that's the way a lot of people get named. They name for somebody else's good name. Now, my Grandma Epps was holiness. She was what they call the Holy Roller holiness. But Grandma Epps, my dad's mom, was just complete holiness. And she was really converted to her religion, too. I went to her church a lot, every once in a while, when they'd have what they call a camp meeting.
This is your dad's mother's.
Or they'd shout and sing and have a good old time.
One of the grandmothers, when she died, announced everybody I'm about to die.
Oh, that was Grandma Epps. Early that morning she woke up and said, I want you to go get Lily, and she named a different one. She said, I'm going to die. And they went and got them, and they were all around Grandma when she died. And one of my aunts had the same premonition. She knew she was going to die that day. And she wanted them all in there. And Viola is the youngest one.
Okay.
Now maybe Aunt Mary remembers more about it than I do. But anyway, Lily was always a character. She said, you watch Viola now, when I die she's going to faint. I don't know if she did or not. I'll
She
tell you.
did, according to Aunt Mary.
I'll have to check out that story because she can remember every little detail and everything. But that's the way they told it to me. She said, watch Viola now, she's going to faint. But
Would they just pass away? I mean, what happened? I mean, they said they
well, they
knew
were
gonna
sick.
die.
I mean, I think people have premonitions or know,
Right.
you know, when they're going to die. But anyway, she did. She knew them all there. Yeah. You know, Aunt Mary and I really missed the boat by not having Grandma Gwaltney, not writing down the stories that Grandma Gwaltney told us.
going on one?
Yes, thank you.
It's more.
We lived at Grandma's for a long time. They had those big 6-foot fireplaces, and we'd all gather around Grandma just like a bunch of biddies around a hen, you know. And she'd tell us these ghost stories, and the more scared we got, the closer we get to her. The closer we get to her, you know. And
That's what she said.
Grandma was a born storyteller. That's all there was to it. She was just born. She could tell you the time of day about going to the store and keep you spellbound the whole time because you just knew something was going to happen. You know?
This is your grandma.
This is Grandma Gwaltney. We gathered around her and she said, well, we said, Grandma, tell us about the lady that could turn herself into a deer and then they shot her with a silver bullet and she died, you know.
Yeah.
We told her the whole story, you know.
Well, do you remember any of her stories?
And that's where me and I missed the boat. We can remember bits and pieces. But we would tell her the whole story, and then she'd start over, and she'd make that one sentence last about 30 minutes. And it was the tone of her voice, and we'd get more scared and up closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And Aunt Mary and I both really missed it. I'm not writing them down. But Aunt Mary and I have been so sorry that we didn't write down those stories. Because she, you know, Grandma knew all the incantations the old lady would say. Like she was going out somewhere, she would say, over thick and through thin, and then she could fly, you know, she could just breathe. But if she made a mistake in her incantation and said over thin and through thick, then she'd get caught in the brush and the trees. This stuff, and then the story didn't get long, then you know how she did.
That's funny.
And note that she'd turn herself into cats and different things. But Grandma taught Sunday school for 40 years, the same place, and nobody wanted to leave it. They said, well, you're old enough now, you got to move on. They would object, you know. They didn't want to move. Because she could make the Bible stories just as interesting as she did the ghost stories and the witch stories.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
When did your mother get converted to the church?
Oh, Grandma Gwaltney was converted to the church about 1900 or something like that. They were all going to the Presbyterian church when the Mormons came. They went to the Presbyterian church. Oh, that's what it was. It was about 1902 something.
I didn't realize it was that actually recent in terms of genealogy.
I think it's about 1900, 1902, something like that. They came to Goldsboro. But let's see now, Grandma joined, but Grandpa Gwaltney didn't ever join.
Okay.
He never joined anything. The only time he went to church was help take in the Christmas tree. He'd go to that. Because we cut those big holly trees at home with the red berries, and you know how prickly they are.
Mm-hmm.
We go out and cut a real holly tree, and it was beautiful. So he did. When I was growing up, they blessed one glass of water, and they passed that glass down. And I've seen Grandma Gwaltney not take it because the kid just before her had a bad cold or something. She wouldn't take the water. Well, I can remember Grandma not sipping when that kid with that bad cold or something sipped water. Then they got the individual cups, but they were glass.
Okay.
And it was Mama volunteered, I guess. Then we know they were clean.
Right.
So we took the sacrament service home every week and washed it thoroughly and cleaned it and brought it back. And then they finally got paper cups. Now that was a long, long time. I have never understood why they didn't just have more than, they have several glasses. If you want to have one glass, they're taking just one glass and passing it down each row, you know. One glass for each row. You take a sip later.
Well, I think that probably originated from the Catholics because that's the way they do things. One cup
Yeah,
of
a big chalice.
The Catholics do that.
Yeah.
Everybody sips out of the one cup.
Well, I can remember Grandma not sipping when that kid with that bad cold or something, except before she did.
Can't really blame her, I guess.
Well, that's like the Lutheran church. Now they don't have paper cups. They have glass little, I guess, what are those things? Shot glasses. They look like regular shot glasses with wine in it. They don't use paper cups.
Yeah, that's what we had. Those are the ones we took home and cleaned every day.
Someone has to wash them.
Well, back then you had Sunday school at one time and sacrament meeting another, and we
Different times for Sunday school. And we had sacrament meeting at nighttime. And then Relief Society would be on one night during the week.
right.
And then when finally we had mutual, that would be on another night. Everything was on a different day. We didn't have many members, see. And I wanted to get out of there. I just had to leave. That's all it was to it. You know, I was about 12 years old. Mama directed music. She's sitting up on the stand. And she caught my eye, looked right straight at it, and I looked over that one, and she started shaking her head. No, you don't. I kept edging right on over, and I sat out on the windowsill and swung my feet over, and out I went. Now, you talking about embarrassing. I mean, I embarrass Mama lots of times. Right in the middle of the church, leap through the window. Mama had, no, it wasn't red. It was auburn. It was pretty auburn color. And when Daddy was going with Mama, Aunt Viola and her friends always teasing Daddy about having red-headed children. Aunt Viola didn't have any children at that time. But when she got married, all of hers were red-headed, and she and her husband didn't have her red-headed. And Mama had red hair, and she didn't have any red-headed children. But Aunt Libby's had brown hair. She worked for a lawyer, and she had some kind of illness, scarlet fever or something like that. And anyway, it took all of her hair out, every bit. And she was, I think his name was Dukes. Anyway, he was the lawyer she worked for. So when she went back, she put a skull cap on, because she had no hair. She got back, and he said, "Miss Sadler, what is the hat for?" She said, "It's a Mormon ritual we do every year." He bought it. And so she kept it on there until it grew out, and she took her hair. And then she told him, he said, "If I'd have known that, I'd have taken that cap off for you." She said, "I knew you would. That's the reason I didn't tell you." But now when her hair grew back, hers came back an auburn color, just a real pretty auburn color. But that was funny. It was a Mormon ritual. And people would believe anything you tell them. It was, those days it was a Mormon ritual.
Yeah.
But it was funny with Aunt Libby and Uncle Paul Sadler. Paul's hair was blonde and he was blue-eyed. Libby had that auburn hair and kind of greenish eyes like mine. And each one of the children had brown hair and dark brown eyes. And when Sarah Francis was Aunt Libby's first child, she only had two. And she taught her to say, everybody was saying, "Where'd you get those pretty brown eyes?" And Libby taught her to say, "From the Iceman." But she had pretty hair. But that was strange. Neither one of the kids looked like either one of the parents. But you look at you. Now, you can't find three people closer than your Uncle Roy, and you ain't married me. We don't look alike. There might be a slight resemblance between Roy and me, just a slight. But when Mary's doesn't look
She's
like
distinctive.
me. No sign. No, Grandma, Mama knew all these long poems and long stories, and she could memorize them. I mean, there was one that would take her 4 or 5 minutes to memorize, and the other day I was thinking about it, and I believe I can remember 3 or 4 minutes of it.
That's pretty good.
Let's hear some.
Yeah, let's start out. Well, there was a wealthy farmer who did an Oxford dwell. He had horses, cows, and sheep and plows, and plenty of good grain. It was to boot without dispute he had a thrifty thing. Now one morning as usual, when oh, let's see now. He came in from work. I can't remember all that. Just a minute. Let me see. Anyway, he'd been out to plow with his hired man, John. He came in from work and he said, "Hey, Madam Lazybones, why no breakfast made?" And she said, well, she'd had the cows to milk and the children to care for since he'd the work's been gone. And so they argued about that a while, and she said that if you'll do the woman's work, I'll go and plow with John. So they agreed, and the bargain was soon made. But little did the poor man think about the deal he'd made anyway. They went out, and he had the children to contend with, and said the pigs broke out and served themselves with cream. He picked up a churn stick to beat among the pigs, and some he hit, and some he missed, and some he broke their legs. Said it would have made a blind man by for to see the fun. The old sow turned around and beat him on the thumb. So he, after all his torture he went through, he ran to the field to call his wife from plowing. And honest John was kissing her beneath the mulberry bough. So all you wealthy farmers, come take advice from me, and see you shun the woman's work, and happier you will be. The man has tried the woman's work, but he likes his own work best. So don't you never grumble if your wife sits down to rest.
That's good.
It must have lasted for 10 or 15 minutes, but I mean, blow by blow, she could memorize a poem on that long.
That's delightful. Storytelling, poem, good poetry, you know.
But
Dying art.
she could remember it, and but
Dying art.
she could remember it. And there's one in there I have copied, word for word. There was a contest run, this was back about 1800s, of any person that could write a poem from the Bible that nobody could solve. They couldn't solve the poem, they got a big cash prize for it. Okay. Anyway, somebody wrote one about Jonah and the whale. And Mama got a copy of it. She did that at church one night. All these young missionaries, all of them sure they could solve it, you know. But they didn't. And so I've got it in my book, and it's called Jonah and the Whale.
Yeah.
Go get it. Let's hear it.
But it tells the whole thing. We don't know exactly where it is this second. I'll have to look that up. But I want you to be sure to save it.
Okay.
Because he talks about him going on without arms or legs, and going from pole to pole without arms and legs. And then it said that the Lord gave him a soul, and then he took from me that soul again.
Right.
He's talking about the fish, you know, when we went to fish. He said, so go read your Bible with all speed. My name's recorded there, honestly, till you declare. But nobody could ever figure that thing out.
That's pretty good.
But I just happened to think about it. I want you to really be sure to save that.
Okay.
Did you ever hear about that Mother Shipley's prophecy?
No.
Well, now I've got that saved in there too. I want you to be sure to save that one. Tell you what I'll do. I'll copy them down and send you a copy of Bronson.
Okay.
This happened way back in the 1800s, that she predicted the automobile, and the men would fly without wings, you know, they would fly.
Yeah.
She predicted women wearing men's clothes, the whole thing. She wasn't a religious person or anything, it was just a long poem she wrote. I will certainly try to remember to get those two, because that they're worth keeping. So we had a milk cow. Mama milked that old cow, and there was a little old cat out there, and it would sit over every time Mama went to milk the cow, just like John, and sit right up like that with his head up. Mama would milk. Right into his mouth. You hit it perfect every time until the cat got all she wanted to drink.
Okay, now this is your mother, right?
This Mama, Bertie Epps.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of that.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
Yeah, well, that's the cow that Mr. Hobbs let us have to as long as she needed it.
Well, what kind of food did Grandma cook? Did your mother cook?
What
What kind of food did you have growing up?
Oh, kind of food? We had every kind. We had all the kind of fruits, any kind of food that grew in the garden, and the strawberries, and every kind of fruits and nuts, and because we had pecan trees and walnut trees and apple trees and every kind of. And Grandpa had strawberries he grew for sell to the store, and every kind of vegetable you could think of. And we had lots of barbecue and cheese and fish. Daddy went fishing a lot, and Mama didn't like to fish in the house, so he built a place to cook them outside. He could cook good fish outdoors, made out of brick. He did that real well. But if you wanted store-bought barbecue, we had some of the best in the country. You couldn't beat it. Did you know that they shipped that stuff to New York by air?
What's the name of the place?
Scott's Barbecue. And the best coleslaw and stuff to go with it. And hush puppies to go with it. But you got the junior Scott. I mean, had inherited it from his dad.
Okay.
We got the original stuff. I mean, that old man could really barbecue. Well, it's cooked outside over an open pit and fire,
But they put something in it, makes it so good.
Well, they put southern hot sauce or bell peppers or something on it. I don't know either. But I know that they basted it with the hot sauce all the time they were cooking it. Because I can still see Uncle Cully basting that. And when it started getting done, he let us pick off a piece here and there. But they still have a Scott's there. But since this must be about the third generation taking over now. But they did. I'd like to have the rest of the people. You can go to western North Carolina and you can't find it. This is strictly down eastern North Carolina. You can't find it. You go up to western North Carolina, you can't find barbecue like they have down there. Well, last summer, my appetite for barbecue saved Junker Roy from having a lot of van trouble. You know that big RV he's got, that great big one. I said, Roy, we're quite a ways from the beach yet. I said, how about stopping at the first barbecue place you know that's really good? They're all along the road, I just got to have some barbecue. So I said, well, I'll stop at that one. He did. And when he stopped, he saw something something about the RV had gone bad, the oil or water or something. Anyway, he stopped and repaired it and refilled it. He said, if he hadn't stopped for the barbecue, I wouldn't have noticed this, and we'd have had a burned out engine or motor or something. Something to do with it. I forgot. I'll have to ask him next time. But just that one stop saved him a lot of grief. I said, well, I got appetite at the right time. Yeah, so we decided maybe something spurred my appetite on. But it's strange you would think that at any part of North Carolina you go through and find that barbecue. But you can't. That and scuppernong grapes. They're the most delicious grapes. Somebody from overseas brought them. I don't know what country it was brought them in. But all that sandy coast of North Carolina. Oh, and my uncle, we had on the Epps side, we had an uncle that worked for the city water department. And Goldsboro had a set of railroad tracks that ran right into town. And people complained about going to town clean and coming back smoke all over them, dirty from the train. And so one night they made a big plan, and my uncle, Meters Epps, organized a group, and conveniently, the judge and all the high bigwigs in the city was out of town. They were all out of town that night. And so he organized this group and gave them all the stuff they could drink. And they went down and took up all those railroad tracks in one night in Goldsboro. And so I've got a picture of it where it made the newspaper up in the front. The night that Goldsboro had their tracks removed. And then the train company tried to sue them, I think, but they didn't make any headway. But he went down for, for all the whiskey they could drink and all the food they could eat. They just tore up those railroad tracks and got them out. But they were right in you've been on Center Street,
Yeah.
right in the middle of Goldsboro, where the railroad tracks ran right through there. And the men would dress up on Saturday and go with the white shirts and come back with soot all over the train passed through.
Yeah.
It was a mess. But he got real famous for that.
That's funny.
I'll put it this way, we have some characters.
I don't think.
I didn't find a single coward in the whole bunch, so they always did what they went for. Did that.
Talk about Miss Ori and her ghost stories.
Oh yeah, the kids would like that.
Miss Ori Thompson was the Indian lady that helped Mama for years and years live with us.
I never did find out how she came to live with you. You never did tell us. I knew she lived with you, but you never tell us how she came to live with you.
Well, she had a group of children. I don't know, it was a whole bunch of kids. I don't know exactly myself, but I know they were put in an orphan home.
Her children.
This was her first husband.
Okay.
He died, and left her with this big bunch of kids. And she had no skills whatsoever except housekeeping. But she couldn't make enough to support them in that section of the country cleaning the house. So they were put in an orphan home. Then she married this Thompson man, and he was a genuine certified hobo. He only came home about every maybe three months, 6 months.
You rode the rails?
Yeah, he was a genuine hobo.
I never knew that.
He'd come by and get his, make contact and be gone again, just stay all that. So she helped us, but I don't know where Mama and them how they actually ran into her.
So did she ever get her children back, or
No,
she stayed married to this man? And
I met one of her children. She had one daughter who was simply beautiful. Her husband was white, full-blooded Caucasian. She was full-blooded Cherokee.
Missouri was?
But she thought the world of us. Because the day she took me to music lesson, and we came out the door, and I said, Miss Orr, let's take a shortcut this way. We got to see go to my music lesson, and then we got to go to the Western movie that afternoon. And she loved Gene Autry. She thought he was the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, she got to go see Gene Autry. And she thought I knew what I was doing. I was 12 years old. I should have known. But I got confused and got lost right in my own backyard.
Oh no.
We walked and walked and walked and walked. And it began to get funny to me because she began to get mad. And before she could curse a blue streak, I'm telling you, you could roast marshmallows by her language when she got to go. And we kept walking, and it didn't look like at all. I didn't recognize the end of the section. Finally we met this man. She said, do you know where this road leads to? He said, yes, the creek. She said, the creek! Well, then she was mad. And all of a sudden it got fun. All the time she's been carrying my music books without realizing. And all of a sudden she realized she's carrying them and she threw those things down. But all the going, she said, if you weren't whose child you were, I'd beat you to death. I said, you would if you could catch me, Miss Orr, and I'd run just ahead of you. And we wasted her whole afternoon at the movie. She didn't get the movie. But we finally got over to the section kind of near the high school. Then all of a sudden I knew where I was, It's a terrible feeling to be lost.
Yeah, it is right near, like you said, your own backyard. You know. You lived there all that time.
So I said, Miss Orr, what? You know, she was so mad. I said, let's cut through here. I know a shortcut.
Yeah, she's gonna follow you this time.
She wouldn't go a step. I mean, she went the way she knew that. She wouldn't take the shortcut. And it really was that time.
Did Miss Orr live with you until
Yeah, she lived right there.
end of her days, or was she the whole time?
Well, when Uncle Roy came out after she died, he said, well, our cemetery, family cemetery has been integrated. We've got an Indian in it now.
Good. You know where she is.
She and her sister buried in our family cemetery.
Oh, I don't know anything about her sister.
I didn't know her sister was
She
there
is.
either. But anyway, she's buried there. She didn't live with us until she got, until she died. No, she moved back down to Onslow County. And old Lemuel Thompson, his name was Lemuel, by the way. Isn't that strange?
Like Layman and Lemuel? Lemuel?
You don't find many Caucasian men named Lemuel.
You
That's
don't.
unusual.
They had bears down in that country. I mean, real bears, you could go out in the morning and see the tracks.
Did she stay married to this man all this time with him coming and going like that?
Oh yeah, it didn't make a difference to her, you know, and there was nobody else to marry or care about her. She didn't even act like she ever thought about him, you know. Just when he showed up, she talked to him, that's all. As far as I knew, it was full-blooded Caucasian, didn't look like anything. Yeah, she was like from the family. Aunt Mary took Miss Orr for a ride one day down. When you say Onslow County, it doesn't mean anything to you, but that was bear country. And what's the name of that Marine base?
Camp Lejeune.
Camp Lejeune. The man I worked for said, that is not the way you say that word. He said, I know the man that it was named for. His name was Lejeune. Quit saying Camp Lejeune. I said, Camp Lejeune, he was French or something. Anyway, Aunt Mary was taking Miss Orr to ride down that way one day. Mary said, here, that's the crematory over there, Miss Orr. You won't be cremated when you die?
What a question.
She said, no, I don't want to go to the bad place, soul and body too, except she said it. Soul and body too. She thought the world of us.
Well, someday I get a chance to meet her.
She told you stories, didn't she?
Miss Orr did, but I can't remember hers as well as I did Grandma's. That, but not many, not nearly as many.
That story, I think.
Oh, there was one I'd like to tell you, but I don't think it's good for family.
It's all right, tell it. Tell it.
Mama had a brother that was just, his whole existence was fun. I mean, he was just full of mischief all the time. One day he talked him into throwing a kerosene rag in the well to see the pretty cars, and then, you know, dipped frantically to get it out before Grandpa got there. Anyway, Mama must have been about Tiffany's age, just a teenager. It doesn't sound nice, but I'll tell you anyhow. Then you can edit it out. You know how to edit. Mama said she'd never been so embarrassed in her whole life. Of course, teenagers then weren't as broad-minded as they are now. You know, they were really prissy. Anyway, I forgot which one it was. If it was Roy or the other one. I think it was Roy. Came into her boyfriend and said, Mama said she was holding her breath, always afraid he's going to say something embarrassing. Says, hey, you want me to tell you a fortune? The guy said, yes, Mama. Said she held her breath. She didn't see how he could, you know, say too much. So he said, well, hold out your hand. She said, Uncle Roy looked at it real seriously. And I said, well, your fortune's bad, but it could be worse. Well, now, hold down there, your belly bust. Mama said she had never been so embarrassed in her entire life. And she told Grandma about it, and Grandma told Grandpa, and Grandpa wouldn't whip her. She wanted to get a good licking for that, you know. But my brother and sister were little. They were, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old. And we showed them how to put straight pins across on the railroad track. When the train came, they run over and weld them together, make sense.
Uh-huh.
You see, that was setting a bad example. It was my fault. Because dude and I used to take straight pins, just regular straight pins. We'd take them out and go lay them crosswise on the railroad irons track, The train come along and weld them together. Or make a move and make designs out of them, and then we'd get them off, Well, Roy and Mary saw us doing that. They were little fellas, see. So my brother and sister were they taught first grade, about 6, 7 years old. And one day they came home. They decided to make some scissors too one day, but they got those big railroad spikes and put across. And Mom and I were in the yard watching the 5 o'clock train, we call it, come along. The train came around the curve just before it got to our house, and it was steeper. It was sharp enough they always slowed up. And all of a sudden the train kind of shut. You hit those irons, nearly wrecked that passenger train. And the engineer knew that we were the only house there, and only kids there, so they sent the police out. It wasn't long before the police was there, and said some children had put spikes on the train track and almost derailed the train, and we were the only children around, so it had to be us. And they told them what happened and the size of the kids, they didn't know any better. But Mama had them take them in anyway.
Learn their
So you
lesson.
take them on up there, scare them to death. And they did scare them to death.
I wonder what they said to them. Did they say what they did up there?
I don't know what they said to them. I didn't get to go. My brother and my sister were so scared. They made me stay home. I was 12 years old. I wanted to go so bad, but they wouldn't let me go. Roy laughs about it. So that was the beginning of his police career, right? He decided to get on the other side of the law. Those were two scared kids. They really were frightened. Mom was the one that was scared. They thought us wrecking a passenger train. A number of people that could have been hurt. But they were two scared kids. But Roy grew up to be a police officer, highway patrolman, and worked for the FBI and all that stuff,
Well, wasn't he head of the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation?
Oh yeah, and then he got to be head of the drugs in North Carolina, head of the North Carolina drug people. So you came from a lively family. But we grew up a lot. That's where I lost my class ring. That little road that came down to our house. It had some little lumber delivered there. I hadn't had my class ring but about 2 months. So pretty, brand new, and I was so proud. Laid it up on the truck. I was going to help them unload the lumber. And I forgot it. So that class ring is buried there somewhere in Mama's yard or up that road, because I know it fell off before it got to the railroad.
Right.
And it's been there for how many years? I got it when I was 16. 50 years anyway. So it's packed down. Someday somebody excavates it, put it out in there. You'll find that blue sapphire. I guess it was sapphire. I don't know. It was blue. Anyway, it was a blue one. It was really pretty. Mama worked hard to pay for that too.
Had your high school year on it and everything?
Yeah, it has the year and it has my initials inside. I was sad about that. Hey Louise, you marry me, then I can carry my name on. Woo, can't you imagine what the thoughts went through a 16-year-old girl's head, and he was in his late 80s?
No, his name was Hobbs.
It was M.E. Hobbs. He was Mr. John F. Hobbs' dad.
Okay.
But
And
see,
John F. owned the stockyards.
Yeah. But see, he wouldn't have any children because he's afraid they might be
Retarded.
mentally disturbed or something. Yeah, he was, and the one that gave us the cow.
Now, what was the name of the guy that got mad because you wouldn't open the door?
That was Mr. John F.
That was
The
John
owner.
F. Okay, who was it that told you not to open the door?
No, it was his nephew that graduated from MIT. That was the head bookkeeper.
Okay.
That fed this false information to Mr. Jim, you know. Well, it wasn't false, he just didn't mean anything. And he told me not to open that door. See, I was collecting cash from people that were buying at the stockyards. I was collecting cash. He said, don't you open that door for anybody except me. I said, okay, because he was the only one I knew. I'd never seen Mr. Hobbs. And he came storming in like a storm. His door didn't open. He said, help this door, so-and-so door, you know. And I said, I can't do that. Mr. Bain said not open it. And well, he goes, that'll fit. No matter than me, I didn't open it. But from then on, he trusted me.
Yeah. Well, he would. I mean, that's integrity. That's what you have to do.
And he said, well, that's what Edgar said, and that's what I did. So,
I think that's memorable. Well, I remember those stockyards.
Yeah. Sometimes you do real stupid things. Aunt Mary and I were getting undressed one night. I was about Tiffany's age. And we had window shades like this, and one of us didn't draw the shade. It was down like this. And I was down to my slip when I looked and saw these two eyes peering through the window. Oh, I caught that. Stupid. What would I have done with the guy if I'd have caught him?
Yeah.
But I was out that door and shot after him, you know. And he ran. I'm sure it was one of those well boys over there. They wouldn't admit it. But I thought about later, what a stupid thing to do.
Would have been some big 6'2", 250.
He had to run, you know. I caught him. Things always seem to happen to me when I'm down to my slip. I heard the train whistle just blowing one day. I looked out when I was down to my slip again. I looked down, and the guy was on the railroad track. Was sitting on it, just like Heights was. And I saw the train actually hit him. I went running down and the train stopped, and the engineer came back. Picked him up and took him on to town. He just sat right down on the cross ties.
On purpose?
I guess so, without realizing something. I don't know. That's where Tyson was. Tyson was drunk. That's the reason he was sitting there. There's a little island right off the coast of North Carolina called Harker's Island. Well, that's the area where Blackbeard did his pirating down there. Well, anyway, and we were about 19 years old. The branch president one morning was going to drive us down there. It was he and his daughter named Isla Gray, and we called her Shug. Anyway, we drove down to this island for a meeting. On the way, early in the morning now, he didn't see the little pots that were supposed to detour. So he ran off the hard surface and hit the mud. And we went rolling like this, you know. And the car turned over about 3 times, landed right in the ditch, right between a tree and a tractor. And we landed right between where they were doing construction work, between these big roots, big trees. That car just placed just as neatly. And this girlfriend, her sister lived in Salt Lake. Sugarfoot and raised up, and all the girls wore hats. Your age, then Tiffany wore hats. I never will forget, she straightened that hat like this, she got all straight. Oh me, I'm probably half dead and internal injuries. I never will forget it. Well, she straightened that hat real good first. When she said, half dead and probably internal injuries. We were out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, we were really nowhere.
Well, how'd you get out of there?
Well, nobody was hurt. We just had a lot of glass. Oh, one of the farmers around, they came and pulled us out.
Did you go to your meeting?
Yeah, we finally made it to Harper's Island. We love to go down there because of their accent. I don't know what kind of accent it is they have, but any of the old people, you could ask them, well, is this a good time to go fishing? You'd wait till the tide was high and then ask. And the one old lady was always picking on her, We'd ask her, I've told you 14 times you can't catch fish on a white boy. I mean, her voice would just get higher and higher and higher,
Like a mixture of English and something,
Because 49 Sometimes you couldn't catch fish on the hard drive. But we'd love to go to Harper's Island. That was fun then. It's an interesting spot. It really is. And then there's a marine base on your way down. If you go the right road, you can see the marine base down there.
Are you talking about Cherry Point?
Oh, Cherry Point. Yeah. You had to take a little bit of a detour, maybe a whole lot of detour, but it's worth it.
Well, I was stationed at Cherry Point.
You were stationed at Cherry Point?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, that's where you were stationed. If you'd have taken another route over a little bit, you could have seen Harper's Island. I don't know how. It used to be a really nice place to go. You could order days around the water and stuff, or go fishing mainly for it.
Well,
And the elder cook came. I mean, it was just.
well, how did you get started taking care of the missionaries?
Beg pardon?
How did you get started taking care of the missionaries?
Oh, our house, Grandma Gwaltney's, was one of the first places. It used to be, there were certain homes that you were welcome in, and they were always welcome at Grandma's house. And at church, they just went wherever people invited them. And in Goldsboro, our house was the main place.
Yeah. So where was the bed at? I can remember the house, but I can't remember.
Okay. Well, you remember you went up on the porch.
Right.
You went to the left, you went through the door, there was a bedroom, a living room all together.
Right.
And then the kitchen and the dining room. Well, if you'd gone down the porch some, you go in another door,
Okay.
and that's a separate area. Separate area there.
I remember that.
Can you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. There's 2 doors to go in.
Yeah. And they went in, they slept in that
Okay.
area.
All right. So the number of missionaries changed every night, or what did they? You said you never knew how many missionaries you'd have the next day.
No, they came out, they might come in some that night, and they always, all of them had our address. And that's the first place they went to, because I looked after their mail. That's the reason I looked at, and Mom always had cold milk, and pimento cheese, and chicken, and cake. She always had a refrigerator full of something to eat.
Uh-huh.
And they'd come down and eat, and sleep if they, needed to.
And then they'd leave, go somewhere else, or
They what?
then they would leave and go somewhere else.
No, they were. That was kind of like their headquarters.
Okay.
Then maybe they would go be invited out to the hunter,
Okay.
and, or somewhere else out in the country.
Okay. And then they'd come back.
They would always come back.
Okay.
We were our house was never empty of some missionary there, and Elder McLean was the district leader, and he stayed there for a while.
Okay.
And whoever else was his companion,
Well,
You can read the letter, and he'll tell you all about it.
yeah.
Just rehashing it that
Sure.
time. But that was in '42. And then when they thinned out, and more people invited them, they were building, you remember going out to the hunter? I don't know if you remember that or not. It was way 15 miles from Goldsboro. McLean was helping build that branch out there, build the church. And after they got them established, then things began to, kept thinning out, and then the war came along, and
Right.
one thing and another. But Elder McLean was one fine missionary, but he kept a daily journal. And so he went in his journal when I've heard I had 3 or 4 letters from him. But I think the first one had been about 50 years since.
Uh-huh.
This was in 1942. I'd have to look over the date of the letter. How many years would that be? Say I got the letter 5 years ago, year 2000. That'd be 60 years, wouldn't it? How long would that be?
From 1942 to when?
2000,
58 years.
58 years. And he signed it, Elder McLean. Of course, he's been a bishop and everything else, you know. But he just signed it, Elder McLean. You know, you should really read that. It's interesting. Because we were building a church out at Nahana, he put lights on the porch for us. I remember him saying that.
Right.
There was you know where we lived, on the railroad.
Right.
Well, the people on that side of the tracks toward the freeway, highway, they had lights, and those on this side didn't, because there was a dispute between the power company and the railroad. And we never got across the power of that. But finally got it, and he installed the lights for us. And I remember him getting off the pole and coming down and putting the box on the porch. And then he hit the switch and said, "Let there be light." I got autographs from President Callis and several of the state missionaries. See, we were in the, let's see, what were we in the southern states? No, we weren't in the southern states. We were, I forgot what they called ours now. But anyway, they've been changed over the years. But I've got to go to bed now. But I would like you to, if you have time tomorrow, to look over that letter. You might like a copy of it.
Okay.
Because it does give you'll have a real good idea. Of course, he's got in his, like tonight we went to Gwaltney's, they went to Abe Franklin's a lot too. We went to the Gwaltney's and had this to eat and that, of course. And to Sister Sadler's, because theirs is.
Right.
And then we went back to Sister Epps's, you know, and then he tells all the food there. My mother and Aunt Mary and I had washed more dishes for Woman Elder than anybody you'll ever see, I believe. It was every day. But we enjoyed having them.
Well, that's like running a mission home.
That's like being
That's like being in a mission home.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
The same thing. We were
Well,
family to them, what we were.
well, that's pretty expensive. I mean, with all that food.
Well, see, we had a garden. Mama raised a garden, and then they had the milk and stuff. Yeah, it was a little heavy on the budget, but she raised so much of the vegetables, and different people gave us fruit, and you know, Grandpa had these nut trees, and, you know, and Mama had bought some chickens so they'd have plenty of eggs, and I don't know who it was, somebody, I don't know if it was, gave us ham once, I can't remember who that was. I believe that was Uncle Cullen. But anyway, there was always plenty to eat, and they enjoyed it. But that's what I'll do. You know, it might be interesting to the children if I got out some pictures, you know, when I get time, some pictures of the missionaries. You can't tell, you might run into one out here. You just don't know. Well, I would like to get that letter out, though. I kept it because there was so much history in it of that particular time. And I have one from Aunt Libby that she wrote me. I was asking about when Grandma joined the church. So Mama told her. Mama wrote it out and Libby typed it up. That's good church history.
Yeah, I'd like to read that letter.
Well, McLean kept day by day everything. Kept it on me. And it would give you good history on that area. Show you some of the peculiarities. And his reliable too, you know.
Yeah.
But McLean went off to the war, and you should read in there, this is a second letter he wrote me, about his experiences and how he was divinely saved during the war. Boy, that makes you have chills. I'm glad you mentioned it because I want you to read that. If it wasn't for waking John, I'd go get it now and let you read it tonight, but I'm afraid I'll wake him. And I'm about done for anyway. Well, I better get my snack and take my pills. But that brought back some memories.
You need to back up and tell us how you met Dad.
Oh, well, that was very simple. I had been going with this engineer, mechanic from Long Beach Airport. I lived down Long Beach. First went out on vacation. I went from Goldsboro to Long Beach on vacation. No, I didn't. I went from Goldsboro to Los Angeles on vacation because Lillian Gwaltney's husband was on the LAPD. Okay. I visited with her. That's my first cousin. Decided, you know, my time was up. So I started back, got out of San Bernardino, and I thought, what am I going back to North Carolina for? I hadn't seen what I want to see yet. I got out there off the train at San Bernardino. I mean, that took a lot of nerve. I was stupid. I got off the train and went in the station, and there was nothing but Indians and Mexicans, dark, you know, everything was dark in there. So I went over to the ticket agent. I told him I was going back to L.A., and I asked him if I could stay in the ticket office with him until the next train. He got to talking. He said, well, you want a job? I said, yes. He said, he gave me 3 openings, 3 places to go. And they had, Union Pacific had an opening in Long Beach, one in Riverside, and one in L.A. So I took the appointment and went out and worked in Long Beach. And I went with some boys. I was going with some guy, I don't know what his name was. Can't remember. Beg pardon?
Didn't you have a boyfriend back in Goldsboro?
Oh, I was engaged to him. That was beside the point.
Semi-engaged.
No, engaged. I was wearing his ring. But I didn't have intentions of marrying him. He was, you know, they call one for courting and one for supporting. And that's a good, remember that, didn't you? No, I wanted to go with Dawson just as long as I could without marrying him. And I did. Some gardening gal picked him up while I was gone. In February, we used to have a gold and green ball. Have you ever even heard of a gold?
Yes, they used to have me when I was little.
Can you remember what it was? Well, it was time for the gold and green ball, and Jack was there, asked me for a dance, and I danced, and I couldn't dance, and I stepped all over him, and so we called it quits. But I went with some soldier from Long Beach Airport. I don't know what his name was. And so that was it. About a week later, I was coming out of the Union Pacific ticket office and ran right square into Jack. Square into him. He said, where are you going? I said, lunch. Well, he said, I'll buy the lunches. I said, no, I'll buy my own lunch. So I ate with him, but later gave him lunch. And then that's how I got the going with him.
That sounds like something kind of out of the movies, you know, where you meet somewhere and then, 2 or 3 days later, you know, they show on the movies. Oh, I didn't meet you
Well,
here.
he sure wasn't love at first sight, I tell you that. And I started going with him. And he'd go out on flights. He delivered the airplanes. And in between the flights, when he was home, I was going with him, and the rest of the time I was dating the subway. And one day, Jack, now you will believe this or not, this is true. Jack was out. They were fixing the airplane, you know, looking it over, getting ready to take off. Jack was talking to the mechanic, and I was living at 92 Bay Shore then. They got talking about their girlfriends. And Jack said, where's your girlfriend there? I said, 92 Bay Shore. Jack knew I don't want to live there, I'll tell you, there ain't nothing. So this young idiot came over and gave me an ultimatum, you know, had to be one of the rest of them. Bye. That's really can't remember his name. He didn't give me ultimatums. Then Jack, there used to be a radio program on called, I forgot the name of the thing. Anyway, it was like a treasure hunt or something. Anyway, it was a mystery is what it was. And I got really engrossed in that because it was a continued mystery. It was a good one. I was listening to it, and Jack said, will you marry me? He said, will you marry me? I didn't answer him. He said, well, are you going to make up your mind? You want me to do it for you? I said, I will, Jack. I will, Jack. I mean, I would make it up, you know. And he took it for yes. And came over the next night with engagement rings. You should have seen that ring. It was like something Scarlett O'Hara would wear. I said, I just can't wear those rings. I told him, I said, I don't want another engagement ring. I got one. So then he wanted me to send that back. Yeah. I said, I'm not going to do it. He didn't send it to me, and I'm going to carry it back to him and deliver it in person. That's exactly what I did, too. It kind of hurt his feelings, but he shouldn't have picked out rings without me along. I'm the one who having to wear them. See, I didn't need 2 rings. See, I had one engagement ring. That was enough. I had no trouble giving her no, because I wasn't so sure about that. Anyway, then we went down together, and I picked out that one. But I thought it was a neat band, you know, just a nice, neat band. some courtship. If I'd have been Jack, I'd have told me they got lost. We went to Salt Lake to get married. Just hoping for snow. Okay, it was on a Monday morning, and the first snow of the season. It was beautiful. About 4 o'clock in the morning, on the way down there, I said, you know, when I get up there and they ask me, I'll get married this morning, I might say no as good as yes. Jack said, well, make up your mind before we get up there, will you? Well, he put up with a lot. Anyway, when we were in Long Beach, that's when I met Marjorie Bronson. And it was Big Marge, middle-sized Marge, and Little Marge. And I said, when my first child comes along, I'm going to name the child for you. She said, what? She said, oh, I said, I'll just use your last name. That's the second one, the second child.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, he'd been Marge.
No, I had the first child, you know, because Elroy had to be first for Jack and Elroy. So I told her the second one. She was the stepdaughter of my landowner. He owned a big restaurant and house there. I was born, well, at Long Beach, I don't want to go into a long monologue now, but during the war you could get lots of love or money because you get an apartment in Long Beach. That's all it was to it. They were taken. Well, Jack and I just married, you know, we found one room out on a good section of town, but one room now we were confined to. Couldn't cook, eat, and nothing in there. It was a nice place, but you weren't allowed any food. Well, one morning I got up about 9 o'clock. We were right on the bay shore, just where we were. I got out and went down to the bus stop about 9 o'clock to go to church on the other side of town. This guy was sitting there in a cowboy shirt and just, you know, said, what are you doing out this time of the morning? I said, going to church. What, this time of the morning, where? And he just kept right on probing and progging, wanting to know what I was doing and everything. Finally, I told him the bus still hadn't come. He said, well, you see that house over there inside the wall in the restaurant? A beautiful home right out over the ocean. I said, yes, that's mine. I thought you were lying, Bill. Just sitting there with his old plaid shirt on. And he said, my nephew was in the Navy and got killed, and they built an apartment for him. He never used it, and I have never let anybody have it. But since you go to church at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll consider letting you have it.
That's a good reference, huh?
So Mama was visiting at the time. She was staying there in the room with us, 3 of us in one room. That was cozy. So. But he said, you come over tomorrow and I'll talk to you. So the next day, Mom and I went over and I was surprised, but he was there. Sure enough, he was here. He took me up, and they had the most beautiful rumpus room right out over the ocean. He looked after my food stamps. He said, now, whatever you do, don't put more than a 100-watt bulb in this lamp, or whatever size it was supposed to. But one night I did, and it caught fire, and he had a fit. He literally had a fit. And Miss Bronson came down and said, well, don't be scared to death here. But they were sure nice. Oh, they were going to give a party one night. And he knew I was a Mormon and didn't drink. Jack was out on a trip. And Miss Brony came to me. She said, don't you take one thing that Harry gives you tonight. He's going to try to slip something when he drinks. She said, take whatever he gives you, but don't drink it. So he did. And so I took 3 or 4 different ones, and then I started getting a little loud, and just like I was feeling real good. And he got scared.
Oh no, what have I done?
So I paid him back. He was scared Jack come in and find me half drunk. He didn't care. They came out to see me in North Carolina. Margie was his stepdaughter. His name was Brona. Was his name. But his wife was an independent millionaire, and he was an independent millionaire. And they got together. So they didn't marry each other for the money. But her name was Brona, and his wife's name was Bronson. That was her husband's name. So it was Marjorie Bronson. Well, Big Morris lived out in Hollywood, and they had I think she something, I don't know, foster care or really adopted them, about 18 kids. Yeah, one of the biggest places you've ever seen in your life. They took me all over, showed me the movie stars. And she had her organized. I mean, had those kids organized. One did the orange juice, one did the toast. And it was huge. You got to walk from here down to Lois McAnally's to get to the kitchen. You know. It was a huge place.
Wow. And all those kids had their separate jobs?
And she taught them well. She was interested in human nature.
Oh, good.
Well, how'd you get so close to Marjorie?
She was down there all the time underfoot. She was about 18. Took a liking to me for some reason. She just stayed all the time and just, she was a pretty blonde. She was really natural blonde. She was real pretty. Reminded me a lot of Donna Ostergaard. She had the same loss of teeth and same vivacious manner and everything. One day I was at, Mr. Broner was talking and he said, asked him, you know, it was all right to use the piano. He had said, can you play it? I said, well, not really, just a few church hymns. You need some lessons? I mean, he was really a rough old man, you know. He scared the life out of you, you know. I said, yeah, someday I'll get some. He said, well, I rent one of my houses to a music teacher. He'll give it to you. Here men teachers and professionals. You're going to make him give me, to me lessons, you know.
Well,
He took me out on Oregon. Let me tell you something, I've never been in such a room. There were 2 grand pianos, all these jardiniers and great big statues, you know, and it was still enough floor space, you know, to plant a garden, all in between. And that scared me worse than anything. You're supposed to take lessons from this guy. I went over a few times, and I told the guy I wasn't going to waste his time. He said, well, I'll give you lessons just as long as Mr. Broner wants you to have them. I said, well, I'll quit. I wasn't going over there.
It sounds like he just accepted you right in as a friend, as an equal.
Yeah, and they did everything for me. They looked after those food stamps. And during the war, you didn't get anything without stamps.
Right.
You want 5 pounds of sugar, you better have 5 sugar stamps.
See, our kids don't realize that. They think, you guys realize that during World War II you had to have stamps to get your stuff? No, they never do that. Could you explain a little bit about what it was like?
Yeah, you were allowed so much sugar and so much anything there was a shortage on. You were allowed so much, and they gave you a book of stamps. And when you use that up, that was it. If you use too much sugar, that's your problem. So they would do all that stuff for me.
Where did you have to pick up the stamps? Was there like a central office that you had to
Yeah, you arrested for them. I can't even remember if I picked them up or they mailed them or how I got them. But that's who Bronson was named for, and real pretty blonde. But they told me the Broners told me they were going to come see me in North Carolina one of these days. So we're going to drop by and see you. We drive to Florida every year. But one day I was 9 months pregnant with everyone. Socks rolled down, you know, and I was looking like heck. I was still picking up pecans. I love nuts. It takes one to know one.
Right.
I was just picking them up. Saw this big car coming down our path. It's about a quarter of a mile from the road to our house. And it wasn't any of our relatives. You could tell by looking at the car. And it was the Broners. All things they did, they kept their word.
They really liked you.
They were curious too. But I told them everything was like it was. You know, they didn't have any surprises. I showed them pictures.
You went down that dirt road, down to the crossroad up there, turned left, and then there's the stockyard or butcher place over there. Then was the store down to the left from there?
That was John Langston. Yeah, your dad was coming out. One day it was the stormiest weather, was driving the truck, and everyone was in it. He was about 3 years old. And you know he didn't even look. Mom and I was sitting on the porch, and here came the train. Jack was going down the road, you know, all the windows rolled up, and made that little left turn right across the track. I said, Mama, he's not looking. And we just couldn't watch him be hit, you know. Jack turned, here was the train, collision course.
Right.
And just at the very last second, his peripheral vision must have caught it. He slammed the brakes. Harold came back with a big knot on his head.
Oh, dear.
And I cussed Jack Gardner up one side and down the other, I'm telling you now. Whew. But, you know, your dad wouldn't look. He never would, you know. I say he's not going to look. He's not going to look and see if the train's coming. He's just going to turn right in front of that train. And so just last second, when we saw him turn and we saw the train coming, and we knew it was going to hit him,
Right.
Mom and I both turned away. Like, you know, waiting. Because we just couldn't stand to see the impact. And then he came back, everyone came back with a big knot on his head. Boy, if words would have caused knots, Jack would have been really naughty. I was going to marry him.
And I think there was a kind of a country store nearby.
There was what they called the Green Gables. It was kind of a little dance hall place.
Okay.
They went in, they had meals and stuff like that and dancing. Because we were over there one night having, I think it was middle of the day or something. You know, Ada and I walked over, it's not but a few yards, you know, to have something to drink or eat. He asked me if I would like to dance. I said, no, I don't know how. I never could get the 2 feet going the same way. No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know where the little house was there? The little gable house.
Is that where Miss Parrish lived at one time?
No. You're out on the highway,
Okay.
the stockyards, then the Green Gables,
Okay.
and then you made a left turn to go down the dirt road.
Right.
Well, as you made the corner, as you made the left turn, on your right would be the house where Billy Spiron lived when he was growing up.
Okay.
And you went straight down the dirt road, crossed the railroad, went into Libby's.
Okay.
And then from Libby's you went to our house.
Okay, I remember where Libby's was.
Uh-huh.
And when I was there was a little tiny house behind her house.
Yeah. Well, that belongs to Miss Parrish.
Yeah, that's where Miss Parrish lived.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went down further, down to
that was our house.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. I think I took some pictures of that.
Well,
But,
it sure has changed out there.
I bet.
They built up everything and torn up everything, and that's what David was taking pictures of, showing me what a big change there was down there.
Yeah. Well, I know there used to be a grocery store not too far from there.
Well, John Langston had a service station, and they sold drinks and.
I remember if you went up to Libby's house, to the road, turn left and cross the tracks, and then you come to another road, and right there on the corner, there was it's not a big stand, it's kind of like a country store, because I went in there and bought pop and candy and things like that. It was within walking distance.
Well, it wasn't a service station, huh?
No.
Well, I don't know unless you went out to Talbot store, and that's a mile from there. Well, there was a country store out there. Or you could go down toward Belfast, keep going, and it was a country store there.
Yeah. No, it would have been that first one. That was the first one you come to. So yeah.
That was what they called Talbot's, I think. Talbot's store. But that was a good mile from the stockyards. Well, you just remind me to get that out for you. Because
Okay.
I was at Mama's in Goldsboro. When I was expecting Bronson, the doctor said, just as soon as you feel any pain or anything, you can come to the hospital. But anyway, it was late at night, about 11:30, I believe it was. I was in the bathroom combing my hair, and my water broke. I had to call my cousin, Mildred, which lived in town about 2 to 3 miles. But 3 miles, would you say? 3 to 4 miles?
Yeah, about 3 miles.
3 to 5 or 4 miles. So she came after me, and we got to the hospital in the parking lot where you drive into the hospital. And my cousin was a redhead. He had red hair, had a bad temper. This black man came out, and she said, "Bring this lady a stretcher." And he came back with a wheelchair. And she jumped out of that car like she's going to eat him alive, and said, "I said stretcher." And boy, he was there with a stretcher. The man went right on upstairs. The nurse started giving me ether to keep the baby from coming, but it didn't help. The baby came before the doctor did. That's all there was to it. There was nothing I could do about it.
I didn't even get in the delivery room or nothing. With Bronson?
But she was with me when you were born. She's the one that said, boy, you sure did eat a lot of collards. I ate at 11:30 and then went into labor. That's when we met Doris, wasn't it? Yeah. Doris, Roy's first wife. After everything straightened out, the doctor came in and said, I said, call me. I said, I did. But anyway, he fixed everything up. And while I was in the hospital, the nurse came in. They gave me that ether and made me sick. Made me real sick. I've been fine till they hadn't given me the ether. Yeah. She said, you sure did eat a lot of collards for supper. I remember that. But I looked up at the nurse and I thought, my, she got the biggest blue eyes I've ever seen. And then I went back to sleep from the ether. But when I got up again, when I was myself, so I could tell what I was looking at, she did have about the biggest blue eyes I've ever seen. Then Bronson's Uncle Roy came up to see me and saw Doris Blackman, that was her name. I think it was Blackman. And they were married like just a few months. They started going out together. And I said, well, if it hadn't been for Bronson, you wouldn't have met Doris. He said, oh, Grandma had her once in a while. I think I met her and Grandma too. I said, no, you didn't. You didn't start going with her. You came up to see me and then talk to her. But I think she nursed Grandma some too. Anyway, that's how it came about, was her nursing, and this Roy liked her right off. Well, I know she looked after Grandma some, then she came out to the house. And I think she saw him he saw her up at the hospital. He wasn't too impressed because she had her hair in pigtails, and she wasn't that impressed.
Did you live in North Carolina, or were you just there for a visit?
I went back to have each one of the babies. I'd go back. But Bronson was always lively, right? You know, like from the beginning. Well, your Uncle Bronson got real sick one night. Fever went up, I don't know, 103, 104, sick. And it scared me. It was nearly midnight, and it was there in Raleigh. I was about 2 years old. So I called the doctor and told him, doctors made house calls then. Told him about how sick the baby was. And how high the fever. Yeah. He said, well, you got to bring the fever down. Get you some alcohol, put in water, and sponge him off, and then give him an enema. See, now I was a young mother, and I had a little excited, you know. I sponged him with alcohol, all right, but I also put alcohol in the enema water. It made him drunk. And by the time the doctor got that, he would
feel no pain.
Throwing up all over everything, just spurting all over everything, both ends. You know? And we were using the sheets and we finally towels, and we finally got down to the throw rugs to put under. And we got him all cleaned up. His fever was back to normal.
And cleaned out. Look, he's turning red over there.
I never will forget that. And the doctor said, what did you do? What did you do to make him so sick? And I told him what. He said, no, the alcohol was for the rubbing, not good. I said, you've made him drunk. You just made him so drunk. And so when he got all sobered up and everything. Anyway, the doctor couldn't find anything wrong with him. His fever was gone and everything.
Everyone right out.
He just really had a hangover. That was, you know, young mothers, you can sure, you just don't know how, just cause you're a mother doesn't mean you know how to doctor, you know. Yeah. He didn't explain, he figured that I was a grown woman with a baby, I sure would know the difference, you know. He didn't say, I don't put the alcohol in the water that you use for the enema. Right. He thought I had that much sense. That was a quick cure. I've been messing around with a sick kid all week. I really about killed him. That was a terrible drug. I mean, you couldn't do nothing but just kind of whimper and go into the bathroom and everything else. Bronson's Aunt Mary just couldn't believe I got my instructions. She knew how to do stuff. You know? She couldn't believe I got those instructions to do stuff.
Yeah.
She said, I said, well, he told me to use alcohol and give him an enema. Well, what's he expecting me to do? I thought he meant alcohol enema is what he said. Well, we had some rough times.
Yeah. I saw a photo today on the videotape that he brought that when I was born, it was a house with him and Jack standing out in front of it.
Okay.
I don't remember, of course I wouldn't remember the house, but so where was,
Okay, that was Virginia. That was, that's where we lived when you were born,
right?
in Waynesboro, Virginia.
Okay, so when Bronson was born
Bronson was born in
in
Goldsboro.
Goldsboro.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then we moved from Goldsboro. He was born in 48, and then we moved up to Raleigh. That was on Bickett Boulevard.
Yes, I don't remember if I saw pictures of the house and I said, I've never seen that picture before.
Well, I've got a blown up picture, and I saw it this afternoon. We lived right on the corner in the White House. And Errol was about 6 years old because he went to school right across the street.
Okay.
So Bronson was about 2.
But she doesn't remember any of that either, do you? Or do you?
No, they were out playing, I think Bronson had some drums in his hand or something.
Okay, now is that the house we lived in?
That was it. 969 Forest Avenue. You can give the address. Somebody might want to look up the place sometime. Waynesboro, Virginia. 1952. But Bronson was always lively, right? You know, back in the beginning. But yeah, I tell you what, your grandpa was a good-looking kid. He was. We brought pictures of him. Really looks real pretty. You had nice hair, everything.
At one time.
Oh yeah. Oh, and when it was, Bronson was sitting out in the little walker thing that went back and forth, like babies rock back and forth. And the newspaper reporter came along and liked it so well, he took his picture and then gave me the picture. So,
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures.
boy, I think so too. You look so happy out there. You just, the reporter just couldn't miss, you know, he couldn't pass by it. He couldn't pass that up. Happy, just happy.
Yeah.
You didn't see that many babies looking that happy. Well, one time I took you back, you were 3 years old. So that made 4, 7. Let's see, if you were 3, Bronson was 7, Errol was 10. Okay, I remember Grandma Gwaltney. You were 3, just cute, you know, with your blonde hair and everything. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, I'll never see these children again. You know, she just really, you know, latched on to you. So we left, in about an hour, we were back home. We got to, you remember me telling you about it? We rushed down to Goldsboro, got on the train, and we were almost to Wilson when I remembered I hadn't put my luggage on board.
No, I don't remember.
Left every bit of luggage we had sitting on the outside the station in Goldsboro.
Oh, shoot.
So I told the conductor, and he put us off in Wilson. I called my cousin. She had somebody go down and pick up the luggage. Then, so it wouldn't get gone before I got back.
Right.
Then somebody go down to Wilson and get me,
Oh,
get
shoot.
us. So when I got back, I said, Grandma, I told you we'd be back pretty soon. We were back about an hour. You know.
Did you finally leave after that, or we have to start?
I had to wait till the next day, because the train only ran once. But I can't imagine leaving all your luggage out. One piece maybe. I didn't load, not a
We've done that.
I take just one more person that was she was a real angel and looking like a person, but she was a real angel. Bronson got me a ticket on the airplane to go to North Carolina. I went up to Salt Lake first on the Amtrak and was going to fly out of Salt Lake. About 59 minutes from Salt Lake to Denver, Colorado. And I was so sick time I got there, I couldn't walk. And this lady saw how sick I was, and I didn't have any money to mount anything. I didn't have money for taxis or dinners or beds or anything extra. And that lady got off the airplane with me, and I told her I needed to get to a motel. She took me to one, it must have been a long ways from there, 10 or 15 miles. Got my room, saw that I got in it, and said, how about tomorrow morning? I said, I want to get back to Amtrak. And I didn't have the money to call a cab or anything. She said, well, I go to work, so I'll come pick you up about 7 o'clock. She came back the next morning about 7 o'clock and got me and took me to the train station. And after I got home, I got 2 or 3 letters from them. I wrote her a note and told her thank you. And then I got 2 or 3 letters. I finally lost track of her, but she married and left Colorado, so I don't know what happened. But now she was an angel in human clothing, if you want to call it that.
Well, the other train incident was the last time you went out there with the stepping off the train?
Oh, yeah. And I've always had a guardian angel, I think, because when we went this past time, last year, the train in Chicago came up, it's supposed to park up levels with the sidewalk, so you just step right off. Well, for some reason, I don't know the reason, he parked about 1.5 foot or more from the sidewalk out in the open, just an open space. And we were getting off the train at night. My vision was blurred with the lights and the shadows and stuff. And I didn't see that big hole, or I would have stepped right down in it with my right foot. And I would have either had a broken leg or broken back or something if I'd have stepped in that hole. And as I stepped forward, I was just going to step and go right there. This great big black man's arm went right around my waist and picked me up and set me right over on the sidewalk. And Mary just, Bronson's Aunt Mary can't believe that, how smooth that went. I mean, he just picked me right up, took me right off. So I've had a guardian angel all my life.
Hundreds of stories like that.
Yeah, all the time. Stayed with me. I wonder if we could take a Pepsi break. Take a soda break.
Yeah.
That's too late. I'm gonna edit.
Too late, you're gonna have to take it out. Bronson, if you want to help her, I'll take mine in a cup with a little ice.
You too.
I'll take a little ice in a cup, Tiffany. Tell John I'll bring you some cookies in just a minute.
Would you like a hot dog?
Thank you. We had plenty. I was going to go get a little snack for I'm a great one after I get all ready for bed, say my prayers, turn out the light. And then I like to have a drink and a snack.
In the dark? In the dark? No. Huh? Tastes better?
He does,
Well, it's a nice quiet time. I mean, you don't have anyone bothering you.
You finish everything you're going to do, you're going to lie down and rest in it, makes you sleep good.
Don't get hungry at night. Sometimes I wake up if I'm hungry.
Sometimes you do that.
There's a good shot of grass.
You're going to lose weight while you're
It is my favorite song.
You want to rewind it? Well, wait a minute. Let Grandma hear this song.
No, that one at my side. Oh, where does it look at? It's down here. Down by his Yeah, somehow it has mirrors and
Let's take it.
Go get If I worked on it, it would.
This is Sunday, November the 7th, 2004. I'm just using these crypt notes so I can keep on track. Bronson is visiting for the week. Today we were discussing dreams. I've had several unforgettable dreams, and so I'll share about 5 of them that I remember clearly with and always will. Just a minute, I got to tell John to put Bronson's book down. Put Bronson's book down. Okay. When I was in my 20s, I dreamed about going into Mama's kitchen to talk to Mama and Miss Ora Thompson, that was a friend of the family's. I spoke and they wouldn't say anything. I answered me, so I took up the chair and banged on the floor, and they still wouldn't answer me. So finally I said to myself, I know what's wrong. I woke up dead. And that was the end of the dream. But I concluded that's what had happened. Anyway, John, this dream probably came from a Sunday school lesson. I dreamed I went outside and I looked up in the sky and saw written, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, clearly across the sky. And I'll never forget that. And then another one was about 6 months before getting our foster son, John. I kept having a recurring dream of having a blue-eyed, blonde-haired baby boy. Jack assured me it was a dream. But when they brought John, he was blue-eyed and blonde-haired. That was about 6 months after I had the dream. About 6 months before it was done. Okay, John, just a minute. And then another one was really clear. It was a few months before Jack was diagnosed with cancer. I saw a line of stitching down the entire length of his chest. The stitching was very clear. And it was sometime I dreamed that before he actually got sick. And then the most recent one that I'll tell you about was during the spring of 2004, Mary Spiron had a blood clot. She's my sister. Come loose and go to her lungs. The doctor gave her a 15% chance of living. The night it broke loose, I had the following dream, and you that something seriously had happened to her. I could see some kind of vehicle, I didn't know what it was, and I knew she was in it, but the light was so bright I couldn't see. I could see only the four tips of her finger, and one had blood on it. That's all I could see. When the closer I got to her, I knew she was in there, and the closer she got to her, the brighter the light became. And I kept trying to approach the light, and the closer I got, the brighter it got, until it finally blinded me. When I woke up, I was very disturbed, and as soon as morning came, I started making phone calls. The results was that she's still living and not walking on her own yet, but she survived a 15% chance of coming through it. But that was the brightest light I have ever seen in my entire life. Even the sun, I mean, it just walked right like you were walking right into the sun, except it was a white light. It was really, everything was white. And all I could see of her was those tips of 4 fingers, and one of them had a drop of blood on it. But I knew she was in there. Still, the feeling was not scary. It was, I just couldn't get in there where she was. And I've had a lot of dreams over the years. I should have written them down. I meant that, that I could translate later as having something to do with what was going to happen, or had happened, or something like that. But I was really frustrated when Miss Ori or Mama wouldn't answer me. I took that chair, lost my temper, took that chair and banged it on the floor. Paid me no mind. I said, oh, I woke up dead.
Yeah.
So that's about the only ones that I can think of today. John is a dream. He's the one that... Here comes my dream walking. 350 pounds of it.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much.
Can you say goodbye, John?
Bye. A few things I need for myself. And I do want to go see Aunt Mary real bad. That's the reason I said it's going to be fixing the sink. I'm going to see her, so I think I'll come.
Well, see her, the sink will survive.
Well, I think I'll save just her. I can't save anything. I put 300 of it in the bank, then I hardly got anything left.
Well, let's check out, I mean, you need to take a train, right?
That's the only way I can fly. You know what, I'd love to go down through Texas. Is there any way you can get across the United States of America without going to Chicago?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to find out. I hate that Chicago is big. Or either you change or the train changes, or something changes. I used to plan on going through Texas to see my first cousin, one called Obena, and we were buddies growing up. But then we were the same age, but she got cancer and she died. So I don't have anybody in Florida now. But I'd never been to Florida. That close now, I've never been. Then Mississippi, Louisiana, all that. I was wondering if I could get an Amtrak in Davis and go south through Texas, down to Florida, up the coast or something like that. I wonder if that's wise at my age, or should I go the shorter route? Well, I have something else I was thinking about too. I don't have something train. But thinking about it over again, maybe it'd be best to take the shortest way. Save my money on my rent. Pay my rent. But I plan on getting a one-bedroom studio apartment probably. I'm not going to stay with anybody. I called Mary once and asked her up in Washington how much is the studio apartment rent for up there. She said you get some pretty nice ones, $500-600 a month.
All right, so how long would you want to stay out there? A month? 2?
At least a month. I'm not staying with anybody. I'm 2 years now. I'm not going to bother any of them this time. Every time I win, it's costing something, or trouble or something. I told Mary, I said, if I can get that apartment, you feel like it, you can come and see me this time. I mean, I let them come and see me. I didn't want to search any of them. Well, come to think about it, not many people to search up. They're about all dead.
It's
I mean, I'm talking about my cousins, my age, first cousin.
yeah.
They got tired of them.
Well, do you want to see a picture of Trent's house? I can go set that up.
Yeah, let me take my sugar first.
Okay. Well, you do that, and I'll set the video up so you can see his house.
Well.
And the vines were so thick until I had the hell out there and I pushed, kind of separated the vines to get down to them. And this snake came up, very big old snake came up and it looked all around. And I just stepped back and I said, y'all be real quiet. Miss Oren Thompson was helping me. I said, y'all be real quiet. I just stepped on the snake. And Miss Oren said, oh, you know damn well you hadn't stepped on the snake. I said, I know damn well I did. I said, y'all be quiet till I go to the house and get the hoe. I got the hoe and came back and he hadn't moved. But when I stepped on him, I thought I had stepped on a frog.
Oh my goodness.
Because I felt him twist on it. And when I got back, I didn't see him. So I took the hoe and parted the bushes again. And up he came again. My throat's closing up.
You need some water, Mary?
And anyway, they all got real quiet, and I killed him, and I hung him on the fence.
Make it rain. Make it rain.
Yeah. And I showed him 3 or 4 people, and everybody thought he was a water moccasin. But he had come out of that ditch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only snake,
It
big
was a
snake I ever
copperhead, probably was.
saw over there.
They
I
had two.
saw several small snakes. One, I dug up her nest,
Mm-hmm.
a baby snakes. And I thought they were the cutest things I'd ever seen. So I picked them up and put them in a jar and carried them in the house, showed them to Grandma.
Grandma went out the back door, didn't she?
Just about.
Woo! Because Grandma knew what those were.
She had a fit. She, Bertie! So, anyway, I found out I didn't know then. But now I find out in my old age that the young baby snakes are just as poisonous when they're born as they are when they get grown.
Is that right?
Wow.
Uh-huh.
When we moved over here, the house was
They
on
are
creek
just
floor.
as poisonous,
And
yeah.
I wasn't there, but we had a moving
I
fellow.
didn't know
And they had a
that.
black guy over there.
I didn't know
There was
rattlesnake was
snakes got in
poison
there somehow or another.
when it was
When
little.
they saw that snake, that black guy
Yeah,
saw it.
they are.
Mary said he climbed up her just like a ladder trying to get away from that snake.
I wonder why he didn't by spending too much.
Yeah.
One day I'll write a list down on everything so that, if I can't remember or need to know, I can write it. I'll written it down.
Spend all you can. You can't take it with you. Just spend it. That's my brother's philosophy. He spends next month's money this month.
What do you say?
He's
He
always
said
done
his
that.
brother spends money before he gets it.
Yeah, get
Like
out
he
up
gets
there
a
where he's
check
living now
once a
before he got
month.
sick.
He'll
Go off
spend
to
that money.
California, spend
this
$10,000,
month.
$12,000, take on 5, 6 weeks riding around and see visiting relatives. You don't think nothing about it.
He's enjoyed life.
He
I
don't
guess he
worry
has.
about money.
Steve is not dead, is he?
No.
But I reckon it's all right that
He's got along good for
he has enjoyed it
82
because
years.
he can't enjoy
83
anything
years.
now.
Did he keep track of his?
No, he spends it before he gets it. He counts it after he spends it.
Oh,
He's always been that way. His whole life. And he's got along good.
he spent it first and then
Yeah.
wrote it down?
Yeah, he spend it first and then write it down later.
Oh. Well, that's the way I've been doing. That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it, yeah.
That's for sure.
Wonder where it went, then you write it
You
down
don't
and
care
find
where
out
it
where
went.
it went.
You don't worry about that.
That's a good idea.
They jump in the car on the spur of the moment and go off and spend $50 eating supper and don't think a bit of a thing about it. Cured.
That was our meeting paid.
Yeah,
You remember that?
yeah, I do.
Yeah,
What
me,
was Billy?
I always
By
say,
the railroad
meet you at
track,
the mailbox.
highways.
And we take off running every direction, but we all wound up at the mailbox. All wound up at the same place.
And the mailbox was really the church, right?
You want to meet us at the mailbox, Mary?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Out of
Down about
Belfast.
the railroad at Libby's.
When we're out of Belfast, that was always
Oh,
our
that's as
meeting
good a
place.
place as any.
And we take off running in different directions.
Oh, okay, that was a I get it.
I see it in the mailbox. And then we might go to 3 or 4 places
Isn't that old? Take it a little sip and
before
see
we
what
went
it
to
is.
the mailbox.
Just a
We
little
didn't
bit.
go directly to the mailbox. I remember that. I was old enough to remember that. We might go to 3 or 4 places before we went
I'm
to.
old enough now, I'm forgetting everything.
Yeah.
Do you remember the tater patch?
I remember the tater patch.
I remember that joint
Yeah.
grass patch in your garden.
Sometimes we'd go by the tater patch
Yeah, the times I keep that
before
garden.
we went to the
And
mailbox.
weeds and didn't have anything to work with but a hoe.
I think it'd be nice.
Crabgrass.
Do you know about the
Yeah,
tater
it was
patch,
terrible. You
Roy?
can't get rid of it.
Do you know about the tater patch?
I heard y'all mention the tater patch, but I don't know what you're talking about.
It was the Holiness Church out there in front of Belfast School.
Yeah, it's still there.
In front of Belfast School?
Yeah,
Okay.
first time
Of course, they remodeled it.
yeah, it's a brick church now, but it used to be a frame.
And what, can we get watermelons there too?
Was it the actual church that you called the Tater Patch?
Mm.
Yeah, it was a holiness church.
That's what you called
It's
it.
still there right there in front.
And why did you call it Tater Patch?
Because it was, they planted potatoes there.
They built
They
it
had
right in
good,
the
they had
potato
good
field.
watermelons too.
Okay.
It's a
I
little
wonder
church,
that's
but
where
it's
we
still
met. We called
operating.
it Tater Patch.
And the preacher was having to console the citizens.
About 2 o'clock at night.
Yeah. We had one place there that we used to get watermelons. I don't remember where that was.
I don't know.
But I remember we got one day and we couldn't break it. We kept throwing it down and throwing it down and
That was
throwing
a
it down,
citron.
trying to burst it open. You remember that one? And it turned out to be
A citron?
what was it?
Citron.
Citron.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
what
thing
You
kept
can't break 'em
bouncing
open
and
with
bouncing
an
and bouncing,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't get it to
Real
break.
ditch
It
bank,
said,
didn't
"Well,"
You could drive over with a car and it won't work.
but it was a beautiful watermelon we
Yeah,
thought.
they grew pretty. That railroad track out there, people used to walk from Pikeville down that railroad track. They had a path about that wide, foot path, just as clean as was grass, nothing wouldn't even grow in it. They walked to school down to Belfast and then over to the schoolhouse.
Well, there was a watermelon field patch that they had almost every year back north west from where we live. What was they called Aunt Mary? What was the black lady's name there, black woman? Was it
Mary Jane Barnes.
Jacob.
Mary
Yeah,
Jane
Barnes,
Barnes? Barnes, yes.
Yeah, and that old, they finally tore that old house down a few years ago.
So back over in that area was the watermelon. You used to get watermelons out of there sometimes.
It was Jacobs and the Barneses lived down there during the week. Come on
Yeah.
Sunday.
What did your mother do while this woman was
Well, she worked over at
Getting
the
a
toll yard
citron
part
for
of
a
the town.
watermelon.
And once, twice a week she,
What did you say, Mary? Yeah, who beat you? What happened?
Jernigan
Oh.
Journey.
ran out to pay Bill never would pay me.
and that was your route that
Now,
went
did you have a
down
paper route
through
too?
Sauce and Annie on
You did?
Church Road.
Yep.
Cause I carried it for a time or two, but I thought I was taking it for Mary, but it was been for you. Went all the way down the end of that road and then came back and then went down, Stony Creek Church Road back over to the highway.
Right,
Uh-huh.
and left and back
Yeah.
home.
Billy, was you around on your bicycle too?
Well, I had one in town, Noddy, their cousin, and I started at William Street and went down by the train station, Oak Heights, and back around through Greenleaf in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I went with him a few times a day. Get up about 4:30
Yeah,
in
it
the
was so
morning.
cold on that bicycle. I've been to the train station and you couldn't even turn the knob to open the door. They had steam heat in there and go in and get warm.
Yeah.
It was a hard way to make a living. Mary had a route and paid for a bicycle.
Mary, was your route in the morning or the afternoon?
Afternoon.
Versus, and you is ours. Mine was the
I
Greensboro
kept my
paper.
route for a year without missing a day.
Rain or shine. If you were late a few minutes, they won't, where you been on a rainy bad day.
But
That
you
road,
split
where
time, you
Roy's
went for a
route was
walk,
down
man.
an old dirt
Ma'am,
road through Peak Town all the way down through there.
what did you say?
About 12 miles.
Long ways down.
She
10
was
10,
talking
12
about
miles this
something
way
and
down.
you were talking
You
about
didn't get
something.
your papers
I
until
said I
after
carried
school
my
late in the
paper
day.
out for
3:30 in the
1
afternoon.
year.
You had to
without
go,
missing a day.
come back home.
Oh. I forgot you had a paper route.
Yeah.
That's
Yep,
right,
I'd go
you
to
did
Nigel's
that
house
one.
and wake him up, he's still in bed. And we'd go through the yard over there, his house was, we
And
used
you
to
went every day.
go through the yard where this.
Aunt Christine loves David. Aunt Christine has always loved David. Aunt Christine will always love David. Okay? Okay. And bright letters. And I'll see you later. I'll come back to see the sign, okay? That's it.
No,
Bye.
bye.
And do a good paint job on the car.
Okay,
Paint it pretty, okay?
okay.
And save myself.
She's waving to you.
Bye-bye.
You wave bye-bye?
Bye-bye, honey. You want to hit my head?
No, we won't hit your head.
No, your head is safe.
Okay. You're a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Boy, I like you.
Hi.
Well, you tell her you'll think about her when you're in California.
Yeah, tell Elizabeth you're gonna miss her, huh?
Are you not going to California and leave me?
You're gonna leave us. You're going to California and you're leaving us. So we're not gonna see you.
Oh, I'm going to get
For a
up
while.
Monday morning and take off to Vallejo.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye. You go see Nicky now. You go see
Oh, she
Nicky.
recognizes Mickey.
Who's Mickey?
Go see Nicky.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, Mickey. Mickey.
Yeah, you go see Nicky. Go see Nicky. Go see Nicky and tell him bye. Bye-bye.
Can you wave bye-bye? Can you wave bye-bye? Sometimes you bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. You go see Nicky now. Bye-bye, sweetheart. Now you go see Nicky. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. I don't know exactly what I said last night, but if there was one thing I would pick out of everything, she's talking. The thing I would pick out of everything to stick with, and stick with for a lifetime, and that's to be honest. Just be honest. And you won't need much. Yeah, I know. You won't need much else. All you gotta do is be honest. And you're not gonna need much anything else.
You also talked about being reliable.
Yeah. If you promise somebody you'll do something,
And listen to Aunt Ace.
don't promise it unless you think that you can do it.
Yeah.
And then do your very best to keep your promises. Because one broken promise sometimes can destroy your whole life. You know, just one broken promise. Well, so-and-so was a Mormon elder, and he promised me so-and-so to do, he would do it. And he never did do it. And so how can I trust him? How can I keep his promise if he wouldn't keep his to me? So just ordinary things. Oh yeah.
Tell us what you said about the temple.
I'd always heard that that the temple, visits to the temple, would help change your life every time you went. But I didn't find out. I hope I'm not repeating myself too much. I never found out just how true that was until you actually started to go in on a regular basis. That's the only way you can find out. You can't take somebody else's word for it, because you can't absorb their words like you do their feelings. And once you start going and absorbing their feelings, there's nothing that anybody can do then to take them away from her.
I see.
Absolutely. You can't take it away from her. It's like the sunshine. It's yours for keeps when you get outside and absorb the sunshine. That's about it. Okay, well, you enjoy that, okay? And you're going on up to your dad's apartment, or close by?
To my apartment, yeah. I'll drive it. Yeah, it's close by. Yeah.
And I'll lie here and wait for the food, and see if I get some sleep.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be here tomorrow.
You drive carefully.
I will.
Okay, pray along the way.
And
thanks for the conversation.
I'm glad to talk.
I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about it.
don't like to go to church. The daddy likes to go to church. Yes, he does.
Now, you sound like Trent. You remember you pushing him out the door?
Mm-hmm. Spirit of God?
That's still one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a nice playing. Uh-oh, here's somebody's pack.
That's Mark.
That's a nice playing instrument. I can't imagine them letting you have it for
$200.
right.
He was going down the grade, making 90 miles an hour. His whistle broke into a scream. They found him later with his hand on the throttle, scalded to death by the steam. Now, you ladies, you better take a warning from this time on and learn. Never speak harsh words to your true lover husband. He may leave you and never return. From this valley they say you are going. I will miss your bright eyes and sweet smile. For you take with you all of the sunshine that has lightened my life for a while. Come and sit by my side if you love me. Do not hasten to bid me adieu. Just remember the Red River Valley and the one that has loved you so true.
I get it finished. We are sowing, daily sowing, countless seeds of good and ill, scattered on the level low and cast upon the windy hill. Seeds that sink in rich brown furrows, soft with heaven's gracious rain. Seeds that rest upon the surface of the dry unyielding plain.
We are marching on to glory. We are working for our crown. We'll make our armor brighter and never lay it down. We are marching, marching homeward to that bright land afar, to work for life eternal. It is our guiding star.